All right, so I want to talk about the crazier things that have happened to me that no, that have happened to me. I don't like that language. That I have experienced. I'm very intrigued and interested to have experienced. So, I started my awakening process I think I decided it was 8 months ago. And it's been beautiful. It's been so fast, but I just get it's come so intuitively to me, so easily, so deeply, so quickly. And I keep getting these signs of, well, let's see. I'll give you the actual things that have happened. So first, I had a session with Katya Turner, and she said something to me about that my energy was the energy that was here when the planet was created, and that I had some of just, I was the elemental energies that created the earth. And then recently I went to a group meditation at Celestial Awakenings um, in Portland, and I there's this amazing, um, I don't know, intuitive light worker, empath, goddess, wonderful human that works at this shop, and she's been doing massage work with me and energy healing, and then what I kind of call spiritual counseling, where she's just she's the most, she's my guru. She's the most aware person I've ever met. um and she just, anytime I am struggling on my path, or I get to these blocks, I can bring them to her, and she melts to the core of them, and she helps me see what's going on. And she's been an enormous help to me in this process. And I went to, um, it was a group meditation, energy healing, where we opened up Fae gates to the Fae realms, and like called through these different elemental energies. And I remember when we were creating these Fae gates, and essentially calling forth the four different energies: the earth energy of the physical realm, and like then the water energy, and I can't explain these very well right now, fire energy, which is that's the spirit, and then air energy. I kind of did them out of order, and anyways, it was talking a lot about this like elemental energy. And it was just so interesting because the way that that felt would just like, it made so much sense to me to call, like how it would feel to call in these different things, and how those different parts start to form, how these spaces work. And I once we had created these gates, I went into this space, and there we set on like working, creating a tool set for us to use while we were in this space. And I created this just beautiful like sound healing garden, and it's just like this little forested area, and just like right in where the trees naturally grow, there was like 4 rows of like, or like 4 or 5 rows of white crystal singing bowls. And I went into this space, and I was just like, when I was there, I felt so affirmed. I felt so like, it was like a childhood wish, a childhood dream come true, but for what my like wildest dream would be for my adult self. If that kind of made sense. It was just like, if I could have created this perfect space for myself, this would be exactly what it would be like. And it was just, suddenly felt this urge. I was like, I want to use this space to heal people. I want to share the music that I know I have with people around me to listen who want to be there and who need healing, who need to come to the space. And immediately just this space was full of creatures and beings that were like coming towards my space, just kind of drawn towards here to like to be healed, to listen, to share community. And I felt them as just these different aspects of me that all wanted to come close and to listen and to communicate with each other. And it was incredible. This I didn't even end up playing anything for them. I just like cried and they all kind of gathered around me and we just like it was like all the parts of me were like, all right, hey, we're all together. It's fine. We can all like each other. Like you can be all these different sides of you. You don't have to just be the badass who can ride all the way on the bus and like glare at creepy guys and hold eye contact and be strong. And that persona can exist coincidingly with like the 6-year old that, you know, cries because something is like so red that what like you cry over these like strange little emotional things that like this scarf, sometimes I love it so much, like when I put it on my head and I like hold it on my face, I just feel so freaking happy. I can't even like I just yeah, that's all that needs to happen. and and then like the part of me that's like really sexual and like excited about just my body and dancing and how good it feels to like to move or just to freaking have sex is like what. And like how all these pieces of you can be there and can coincide, and you don't have to see bits of yourself as contradicting, and you start to do this and everything. Happy hands. Yeah, so I was in this freaking amazing sound healing garden crying with all the different parts of myself and just feeling the love from myself. And my child self, we were working on a main part of this healing was to communicate and communicate with and heal parts of our child self. And I got to just I got to meet my child self briefly on the outside, but she integrated so quickly that I think I've already done a lot of inner child work. And I wasn't ever very far away from my inner child. I didn't have any sort of really intense traumas until about until I was like 18 or 19 when I started waking up and really feeling the pain of my family members. But for a while, I was really just asleep, and I had a very, like, I think I was cushioned on purpose. It's been very quick and easy for me to awaken because of that. That I didn't have much to dig through, and my child self was like right there, ready to just fucking party. So, yeah, anyways, my child self integrated really quickly, and I was able to come to this space of harmony where I just like, I've just felt that like whimsical, adventurous little being that is so excited to live and run around and experience things. And so we got guided through this forest area, um, and I kind of walked out into this big cavernous area. And so this is all in like the meditation. So it's really cool because this has happened to me before in LSD where I can like watch, like I'm like watching um something going on, like I'm in a dimension basically in my mind, but then also, I'm really aware of like the 3D dimension around me, but then also like the dimensions that are just inside are just at I'm just as aware of those. So like it's very interesting. It's like being on multiple levels of experience simultaneously. And so this similar thing was happening in this meditation. So I'm still really aware of like my physical state, and that I'm with the room and really aware of like Nicole's voice. But I'm totally visually I can feel the ground underneath me. The visuals are still kind of foggy. It's hard for me. I still see a lot of like gray. But I'm starting to be able to see the blue pearl a lot more often, and that's just been opening up more and more to like just being able to visualize the space that I'm in. Um, yeah, so I walk out into this area and it's just big open cavern, like deep rocky, like it goes super suddenly like straight cliffs, and I was in this like really tree area with like a stream. Um, but I could just kind of walk out, and I just kind of could feel that I can fly through this space. I know I can fly here. And so I'm just like walk out over the cliff, and I like start to just kind of fly through this space, and I come down, and like then Nicole starts saying like, "Oh yeah, and then there's crystals growing in this space." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I can create crystals in this space." And so I start to like, I'm suddenly in this like cavern that's just full of citrine. Like the whole thing is just citrine, except for the space that I'm sitting is like this perfect little smooth citrine like seat, like in a huge cavern of just beautiful bright orangey red, yellow, like bright orange yellow magic everywhere. Like this little thing, this is my little amethyst cavern here. Beautiful piece of earth that I am so fortunate to own. Yeah, it was like I was sitting inside this, except it was like this color. This is yellow calcite, but like all the crystals are this color, and I'm like fucking just sitting here looking out on this big cavern. It's just like deep and beautiful. So I like fly out into this cavern, and I'm like flying around, and I go no, I flew in. I sat down yeah, and now I'm in the cave. And then when I was in the cave, that's when we started talking about bringing in our guides. And these two huge birds fly down, and they're like giant birds. They're like, think Lord of the Rings flying on the eagles. They were eagles, right? Um, Type big. Except it was an owl, and then the owl had a friend, and the friend, I couldn't tell what bird it was, and I couldn't quite see it. I couldn't quite look at it totally, because every time I would look at it, it would kind of shift. It would either like kind of turn away from me, but it didn't feel unfriendly. Like the owl was like there, like, "What's up? Let's chat," and it would like really communicate with me, and I could really clearly understand what it was saying to me and how to communicate with it. But then it was like, I'm getting freezing cold. I need to put on a blanket. Um, so yeah, the owl was talking to me. He was totally like communicative, and I could tell that they were my guides. And it was really interesting because I felt like they were really representing some sort of duality, and that I kind of didn't understand this side, or it was supposed to be like they were supposed to balance each other somehow. But yeah, this other bird, I could feel them. I could feel their energy, that they were very calm, and they were just really loving and happy to be there, but they weren't meant to really say anything. They were just meant to kind of balance the energy, which is pretty interesting. Whoa, that just connected to the session I had with Katya, and she was talking about the energy of my parents. That my mom was like she was a big energy in my life, but my dad was kind of just there for some reason to balance the energy. I wonder if that's a representation somehow of my parents. Oh, whoa. Haha, cool. So I'm hanging out with these two birds, and they're like giant. And we talked for a little bit, and then they kind of shrunk down in size, and they could like sit on my shoulders. And then for the rest, um, we like flew down into this more wooded area down in the bottom of the like canyon, and they would go with me wherever I went, and I could feel their like weight on my shoulders, and it was like super comforting, like to have a bird on both sides. And they were just like they were about this big on either side of my head. um yeah, the owl is such a cool symbol. I was like stoking on the owl, that I've been like my phone background's an owl now. And I realized there's like this little owl statue on my walk to school every morning, and I'm like, I've seen you every day, and now I see you. um yeah, it was great. So I'm down in this little wooded area, and then Nicole starts guiding, and she's like, "Okay, now we're gonna go through our Fey gates." And I didn't realize that area before that was just so wonderful and magical was just like the gate to the Fey. And we go up this space, and she's just like kind of leading us through a lot of like it started to be like these clear glass stairs, and I'm like walking up these glass stairs and kind of going around and around, and they're like big, wide, like opaque, like that's where you can't see it through it, right? Stairs where you can just see, it's just wide and glass. I could kind of see through them, but at the same time not. Like it was very interesting. I could see the whole landscape below me, but then I could also like the stairs were very like solidly white glass. Um, and I had like a couple little animals. They were following me up the stairs, and at that point we had created these like face silks, and so I'm wearing this like beautiful like lavender like cloak with a hood, and like it just like the texture of this fabric was amazing. And I still have my little bird guides, and I have like this freaking like crazy tiara with like light and flowers and like crystals in it, and I'm just like coming into this like sound healing goddess aspect of myself that is just like everything that I want to embody. Um, it was honestly like so affirming of like when I was a little kid, everything I wanted to be, and that I can connect to those parts of myself and honor them and show up for that, and that it's okay to identify with that and to find joy in that storyline. Um, and the connections that that can bring are okay. Yeah, it was a beautiful moment. So we walk up these stairs, got my little animal buddies, my guides. There's a fox. There's a there's another little bird. There were some small things. I don't quite remember. And then we go up kind of into this big, it's like this big arrival space, and it's like this kind of glass balcony that's just kind of, suspended in the nothingness. Wow, I just got so congested. The sinus problems are back. Ah. So in this big open glass balcony area, and we're looking out over this beautiful wooded land. Um, and then that kind of like starts to sink down, and it kind of plants us right directly at the edge of this lake. And I'm just like going out in the middle of this lake, and Nicole leads us over to these like bees, and she says the bees are just like these super big friendly spirits coming, they're like really, really wise and just really kind, and the honey from their giant beehive just like flows down the trees and into this lake, and she like leads us through, we're like bathing basically in this magical fey honey water, and like, oh my gosh, it was beautiful. It was so healing just to sit in that space and care for myself. I was sitting there with like my physical body and just like holding my arms, holding my legs, like just like my mom would always does this to my arms. She like squeezes up and down my arms. And it's so grounding, and so like just like to give care and love to your physical body and to your just direct giving it directly to yourself is so powerful. It's such a powerful feeling to just like be like, I allow you into this space. Everything about you is okay. I love every part of you. Just that is, to be able to say that and to truly feel it and mean it and connect to that is beautiful. It's yeah, it's magic. It truly was. And I came back to that space, that lake later again in a meditation on my own, and I met this freaking mermaid, dude, and she like pulled me into the water, and she invited me to just explore anywhere I wanted, and like basically gave me a mermaid tail. So it's just like it's to be led through that, to creating that space in my mind and having just like access to like this, it's like an incredibly powerful visualization tool for communication with myself, with my multidimensional parts of my consciousness, because we're no longer living in this very solely 3D personality anymore. Like we have access to all these different parts of ourselves that are living out realities in the infinite multiverse. So all of that is within your mind. You just have to believe that it's there and open up space to connect with it and be purposeful, ask questions. Visualizations are helpful. It's like you can your imagination is a tool for creation and communication with yourself. You know yourself by what you create. And so if you're able to go into a space in your mind where you can create anything and interact with the different parts of yourself on a very things move so much faster in the dimensions of thought and imagination. You can create whatever you want to, see the effects of that, experience whatever you want to, and that's an incredibly powerful and clarifying experience. Um, it it is. I haven't been able to have any sort of out of body experiences, though. Oh yeah, I was going to talk about more crazy things that happened to me. I guess the other one is really just I've had some pretty intense kundalini energy. That's like the best way I can explain it. Um, Experiences where it's usually in meditation or when I'm falling asleep. I stop being able to feel my body and I just kind of feel myself as an energy wave. Some The first few times this happened, it happened sometimes when I was a little kid. I it felt like everything except it was a lot more intense and kind of like shocking. Like it was very, I think, whoa. Okay. So when I was younger, the vibrations I would experience when I got kind of into this, it's kind of like a trance-like state almost, where you just like come into a space of pure allowance of just everything that's happening. You're just really being in the moment fully. And when I was a kid, it would happen kind of sometimes, it would start to come over me and I wasn't quite sure what was going on, but like I would just try to kind of experience what it was. It kind of scared me and I would get kind of these strange visualizations of just like I was like oscillating really fast back and forth and really intensely. And the more I thought about it, the more I would oscillate out and out and out, and I would feel like every part of me. I couldn't feel. I didn't feel like a body anymore. I felt like an energy, and that I was g- getting infinitely large and infinitely small, and every time I oscillated between those two, I got larger and larger and smaller. Like honestly, like I was like tearing myself apart in two different directions, and like it was kind of scary. It was kind of like what the hell is this? And then I forgot that it ever happened until about when I started awakening again, and then it happened to me a couple more times and it's kind of disorienting. Um, And then the first time I experienced Kundalini energy when I was meditating, it was a completely different experience, but it was similar just in the fact that I was kind of feeling my energy body and not my physical body. But there weren't, it felt like different things, honestly. They really felt like different things. That experience and then like what I have felt kind of like when I'm able to just kind of relax fully into my body. Like the Kundalini energy holds your spine completely straight. You can just relax into it and you're being held up by this super powerful force that's going through you. And it honestly feels like how a flame looks. It's kind of flickering, but it's flickering very mathematically and like precisely. Like at the base of your spine, it goes like and it moves slower down here and then starts moving faster. I was thinking maybe that other experience that I had when I was a kid was like maybe since the vibration was like wider then, like the oscillations took less time. This was a lot, or we're going over more space in the same amount of time, so maybe they were more jarring than when I am tuning in. I'm maybe at the higher point of that vibration, so the space between is smaller instead of going here and you're oscillating. But see that when I experienced that, it felt like I was expanding, and this feels like I am traveling. But there's this. Oh, my hair's crazy. There's this spiral that's expanding. See, those ones are getting bigger, and these ones are getting smaller. What? What? I don't know. Hmm. Yes, Kundalini energy happened to me when I'm sleeping and when I'm meditating. It's really beautiful and really healing. Um, I've also, let's see, recently, yeah, so then there's been a couple times when I've gotten to that kundalini experience where I'm in this just energetic state where I don't feel my physical body, but I feel myself as a waveform. And I'm able to use basically audiation, which is imagining sound in your head, but I my consciousness is unified now, so it's like I'm basically not just here, but I'm like a whole beam of like conscious energy throughout my whole body. So like I can hold pitches in specific places. So if I'm in that waveform state consciousness and I can hold like I always just do it intuitively. Like I'll be like, and some I usually don't even sing out loud. I can just kind of I imagine the pitch there, and it feels like a bow on a string, like I'm resonating, like this string of this column of energy that's going up me, and by putting my intention, my conscious pitch thought into that space, I'm like creating these resonances, and so I can do it like be like, oh, 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 whatever it ends up coming to me, and I can feel where those spaces kind of go to, and it feels like I'm kind of tuning the wavelengths of my body, and it resonates in these really, really interesting ways. So that's been something crazy cool I've been experimenting with. Yeah, that's been a really cool journey. Um, I also have had, yeah, just several experiences where I'm communicating with higher consciousness. Um, I was able to have a pretty cool like alien encounter when I was watching Abby Normal's video about Kermit the praying mantis being, and he was talking to her and saying some things about just like how you know that are really there wanting to help people and heal people, but that you know it's it's something we can do through our thoughts, because the physical body would be a little too terrifying since they're giant bugs. And he had a really funny sense of humor. You should check out her videos. She has some pretty cool alien channelings where she talks to some different alien beings. And I really, really appreciate her videos because she's so raw and authentic, and she's just a really kind and loving person. And so, yeah, after her video, I tried to connect with the praying mantis beings, and I had a couple other pushes towards trying to communicate with them, and I had just been in so much pain. I have tendonitis from playing violin, and it's gave me fucking hell for a while. And anyways, it's it's been really helpful. I've done a lot of energy work to start healing that, and that was one of the first things I tried doing. Was I connected to these alien beings through meditation, and I was sitting and I just kind of connected my consciousness with them. I just kind of, my strongest intuitive sense is my empathic abilities, so I'm just able to be like, okay, how would it feel to be communicating with this being? And then you pull up memories of them and how it felt to hear about that conversation, and you kind of get these empathetic signatures that are pretty easy to pull back up through just memory recall. Whatever senses kind of help pull up that signature again. That's how I find I'm able to communicate pretty easily. And it comes, yeah, it just comes quite intuitively. And so I called this being down, and I saw him in my peripherals for a second. It was really interesting. I saw like his face, but over the top of that, there was like kind of like a projection of this bad kid's drawing of like what I imagined a praying mantis alien would look like. But underneath that was this kind of really beautiful, elegant face. If I kind of could like push that drawing out of the way, kind of this really elegant face of like a beautiful praying mantis bug, but like a tall one with like a little robe on. And I could feel his presence for a bit, and I was sitting like this, and I had my hands down, and he came over and like put his hands on my back and was like pulled out. I had wings. He pulled out my wings and kind of just like furled them out all the way, and just kind of like, honestly, it felt like I was getting like an energetic shoulder massage, and I had my head down like this, and then he like sat down behind me and like called all these other praying mantis healers down, and they basically just did an energy healing circle around me. And again, I'm perceiving this as like there's literally other dimensions inside your mind where you can experience um, events that are happening just in other dimensions, multi-dimensional parts of your experience, um, beyond just the 3D world that's around us. So that I'm sitting there, I can sense these other beings and I can see them in kind of my third eye, my visualization space, and they start kind of pulling down this green light through my head, in into my shoulders, into my hands, and then back up through my head. So it's like making this circuit through my arms and hands where the pain was the worst and where I was asking them to heal. And it was so vivid. It was crazy. And so it's this bright green, like spring green, neon green light that they're pulling through me. And they were chanting just like, "You are green, everything is green. You are green." It's everything is green, all green, green. Just like kind of repeating these like mantras about green and life and green, and just like this energy is like pulsing through me, and I'm just like sitting in the middle of this crazy like freaking alien healing circle. And again, one of the most beautiful things I've ever experienced. um and at the end of that, they all kind of left me one by one, and then the last healer left. And I don't think it was Kermit. It felt that the energy I got from Kermit when I was talking to her was very humorous, and very kind of his way of connecting was through humor. And these beings were a little more somber, but it really connected to where I was at and my energy at that moment. What I needed was they were like they were pretty like they were hardcore like healers. I could feel they were very like honestly it felt like they were professionals. It's the best way I could kind of describe how that felt. Um, so yeah, cool stuff. Let's see. I feel like there's one more thing that's happened recently that I wanted to say, but um, yeah, this video is about half an hour long now, but I think it was good. That was really great to kind of summarize a lot of that craziness. Um, yeah, some cool stuff. I talked about the Fae, the mermaid, yeah, integrating the child self. I talked about the kundalini meditations, the weird thing that's happened with the child, the sound healing I've been able to do on myself. Um, oh yeah, the last thing was freaking like, honestly, I think it's mind reading. That's the best way I can explain it. But it's like not that hard and not that crazy. Like if I'm like the easiest time to do it is when I'm laying in bed, and basically like I can empathically feel into like my neighbors' spaces. So like I live in this kind of small apartment complex that's very like there's like 10 apartments up here, above a shop, and we're just really in close quarters, and I can really like I can feel everybody around me, just kind of like if I'm to tune into my neighbor over there, I can just kind of like, whoa. Yeah, like I immediately kind of got this blockage down here in my like sacral chakra. I can feel he's like frustrated, kind of stressed, probably about school. He's a graduate student. Yeah, he's always got a lot of angst going on. You can probably hear me. I can always hear him snoring. Wow. Anyways, so if I'm like laying in bed, right, I can like kind of tune into where people are, and then like it's basically like there's this space, like I've created this space inside the middle of my noggin basically, and inside that space, if I listen there, I can hear people's thoughts. So it's like it feels like I'm tuning into a radio of like the energy of where people are, and then like I just kind of listen to what that space, that energy feels like, and what kind of sounds are being carried on that. And it's interesting. um because a lot of times before, I'd be like falling asleep, and like I just get this like super noisy mind chatter. Like it's just for a while, like when I worked in restaurants, it would be like the voices of people who I had like worked with that day, mostly like the other servers and like the kitchen staff, and like I could hear their voices in my head, and oh my gosh, that would drive me fucking crazy. Like inside my head, it's interesting. sound is the biggest medium I use to communicate with myself inside my head. Um, but then like empathic is like probably my strongest um, connective ability right now. So it's kind of interesting just how I communicate with myself versus how I like take in energy from others. Yeah, but dude, my just the what I asked for in the new year was I really want my intuitive skills to expand. I want to see what I can do. I want to see where, all these different ways of connecting. And Katya Turner's intuitives class was really helpful with that too. Just like showing up empty was a big deal, and just like accepting to feel whatever experience happens. And but also then some of the things that Andrew Martin has been saying about asking for what you want to experience. And man, has it been showing up in a big way. Like I've been manifesting some crazy stuff and like experiences for myself that I thought I wanted, and then would like the universe is like, all right, here, try it. See, is this really what you want? And then most of the time it just ends up teaching me a big lesson. But dang, this last month has been absolute insanity. And coming out of it, though, I feel like I'm in a completely new space, and I'm just so much more centered on who I am, what I'm doing, um, the ways that I can connect with the world, the ways I want to connect with the world, the ways that I see I'm most effective when communicating with people. Um, and just what I'm getting out of my own experience, too. I really know what I want, and it's been showing up for me. And yeah, I think that's the end. Okay, cool.